I recognize the Honourable the Minister of Police.
Thank you, House Chair. It has been a year since we took office as Ministry of Police, a journey that has been marked by urgency, by consultation, and a deep commitment to the safety and security of every person who calls this country home. In leading the portfolio of police, we do so with full appreciation of the constitutional mandate entrusted to South African Police Service. A mandate to prevent, a mandate to combat and investigate crime while maintaining public order, protect and secure the inhabitants of the Republic, their property, and uphold and enforce the law. These responsibilities lie at the very heart of a functioning democracy and are central to the well-being of our people and the stability of our country. Honorable members, the 7th administration has outlined 3 priorities. Those are well known in the House. But over and above that, as ministry, we have refined and adopted a clear focused list of priorities for ourselves within those that have been identified at the national level. They are as follows: reducing the murder rate, reducing illegal firearms, dismantling drug networks, fighting gender-based violence and femicide. Those are the 4 that are the top priority. But in addition to those, we have committed to dealing with illegal immigration, reducing organized crime, reducing stock theft and cash in transit, reducing gang violence, clamping down on illegal mining and tackling corruption within the SAPS. That's the total of our priorities. Now, to deliver on these, we've identified a number of enablers, namely the enhancement of technology within SAPS, strengthening intelligence, that is crime intelligence, capacitating and upskilling our detectives, improving forensic services, and improving fleet management and any other support system that is required in terms of assisting police in doing their work. We have committed to upgrading our infrastructure, especially police stations, and support, administrative support to be given to them, and improving working and living conditions for police officers. So that's the list of enablers that we've identified that are required in the environment. Now, the South African Police Service has been allocated, the budget of the South African Police has been allocated to the tune of 120 billion, 890 million rand. That's 120.8 billion. For the 25-26 financial year. And then this budget will be spread across all the various programs that we have. And then there are specific allocations that have been made, like for instance, 219.2 million that will secure the G20 conference that is coming at the end of the year. And then 400 million for local government elections that are coming. 34 million for additional post of a deputy minister. 150 million has been shifted from SAPS operational budget to the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, that is DPCI, so that they can do much more work. Thank you at this stage.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We invite the Honourable Kobe.
Honourable House Chair, Action SA today rises to register our rejection of Vote 28, Vote 21, and Vote 24. We reject these votes, Honorable House Chair, not because they represent more of the same in the face of a crime crisis that continues to terrorize the lives of ordinary South Africans. No amount of polished plans or rebranded performance indicators can hide the hard truth. Our country is becoming more dangerous by the day, and this government has lost control. The SAPS budget of 120.88 billion may appear substantial on paper, but it is divorced from lived reality. Violent crime is out of control. Murder, rape, kidnappings, extortion, construction mafias, and organized crime syndicates continue to operate with impunity. Citizens are prisoners in their own homes while police stations are chronically under-resourced, detectives overwhelmed, and communities abandoned. We note the over 180,000 applications received to join SAPS. This is a powerful sign of public willingness to serve and protect. Yet, it is a tragic reflection of our failing state because SAPS remains chronically understaffed and underperforming, with a growing backlog of cases which are ironically worsened by limited human resource. The tragedy in all of this is that the 180,000 people who applied will probably not be absorbed, not because they are unfit, but because of poor planning, cadre deployment, and a lack of political will to expand our policing capacity. The Civilian Secretariat has received 172 million, but where is the civilian oversight? How is this budget being implemented when not a single community across South Africa is even aware of the existence of this body? Where is the consequence for police officers who act unlawfully? The Independent Police Investigative Directorate, entrusted with accountability, has been allocated 428.6 million, yet its track record of consequence management is dismal. Fewer than 1% of police implicated in brutality or criminal acts face meaningful disciplinary action. Allow me to give an account of these. 16-year-old Nathaniel Julius, who lived with Down syndrome, was shot and killed by the police from Eldorado SAPS in August 2020. Several policemen were implicated, all of them out on bail. Why should we support this budget? Mandla Buthelezi, another SAPS member, charged with killing 22-year-old Gauteng crime warden Chesney Kepler after a domestic dispute on Boxing Day in 2024. Despite him shooting while on duty with a state firearm, this brutal killing wasn't enough for a dismissal. The member was allowed to resign and get his full benefits. Again, why should we support this budget? In the Western Cape, right here, SAPS members were caught transporting drugs. They were reinstated. They were given a slap on the wrist recommendation and reinstated. Again, we ask, why should we support this budget? Crime does not need more conferences, reports, or imbizos. It needs capable leadership, honest officers, and visible policing. It needs an IPID that is independent and competent, not an IPID that remains entangled in political interference and bureaucratic paralysis. In good conscience, we cannot support budgets that throw billions at toothless oversight bodies while communities bury their loved ones weekly. We cannot support budgets that fail to confront the rot in SAPS or ignore the urgent need for professional police service that serves the people of South Africa. If my colleague was here, Honorable James would say, "Soor kan dit nie aangaan nie." We reject these budget votes. I thank you.
The next speaker is the Honorable Schikkerling.
Today I rise with purpose and resolve on behalf of the Democratic Alliance to speak on Budget Vote 24, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. Let me be crystal clear. Talking about IPID in isolation is a political deflection. This body exists to hold SAPS accountable. But what happens when SAPS itself is in a state of collapse, when those meant to enforce the law are the very ones that are violating it? IPID has been allocated 428.6 million rand for this financial year. But let's not be fooled. It's still nowhere near what is needed to fulfill its constitutional mandate, especially not when over 64% of that budget must go to investigations and provincial coordination, where backlogs are mounting and investigators are overwhelmed. Meanwhile, SAPS was handed 120.8 billion rand, a figure that is obscene when measured against its collapsing credibility, soaring crime stats, and growing corruption. One must ask, are we funding public safety or institutional failure? The reality on the ground is devastating. South Africa has some of the highest GBV and femicide rates in the world. Yet IPID's annual target for police rape cases is a mere 35 decision-ready cases within 210 days. That's not a plan. That's an admission of defeat, a resignation letter addressed to every woman that the system has failed. And in the entire Eastern Cape, a province riddled with rural policing challenges, IPID now has just one operational office left. How are survivors in Lusikisiki, Mthatha, or Queenstown meant to report police abuse? It's clear. The system is designed to exhaust the victim and protect the perpetrator. And where is the civilian secretariat? They're silent. The very program tasked with monitoring the SAPS and tracking IPID recommendations has been allocated just 37 million for their financial year. And their own documents confirm what we already know. Their oversight reports are routinely ignored. We do not have a crisis of legislation. We have a crisis of enforcement, a crisis of accountability and of ethics. And we must urgently transform IPID into a body that no longer begs the SAPS to do what's right, but compels them to. That is why the DA supports the recommendation in the IPID report to transform the directorate into a body modelled on Kenya's Independent Policing Oversight Authority, with binding powers, true independence, and the authority to compel both the SAPS and the NPA to act on its recommendations. The DA will continue to fight for reforms that mandate the implementation of IPID findings, enforceable timelines, transparent case tracking, and full public accountability. But let's be honest, fixing oversight alone is not enough. Policing in South Africa needs urgent reform, not as an option, but as a necessity. We need well-trained officers, properly resourced stations, modern technology, and zero tolerance for abuse. And yes, it is time to devolve policing powers to capable provinces and municipalities. Why should local communities continue to suffer while Pretoria clings to power that it neither has the will nor the capacity to use effectively? And while we're at it, let's be bold. Let's end cadre deployment, promote on merit, equip detectives, hire professionals, fire abusers. This is not radical, it's responsible governance. South Africans are tired of watching Parliament pour billions into a broken system while rape kits expire, dockets disappear, and corrupt officers are quietly transferred instead of prosecuted. Despite the many challenges, there are signs of hope in this budget and some steps in the right direction. The introduction of the integrated case management system marks a significant leap forward in operational efficiency, as this system promises to digitize case tracking, integrate data within SAPS, and boost transparency. By addressing one of IPID's key obstacles, manual data inefficiencies, it has the potential to clear backlogs and improve investigative outcomes once fully implemented. IPID's commitment of a 5% increase in decision-ready GBV cases is a small but crucial step toward breaking the culture of impunity within the SAPS. That's why the DA supports evidence-based policing, hotspot patrols, technology-driven crime protection, and community-led safety. We need a police force that earns public respect and not one that instills fear. In conclusion, Chairperson, this is not just a budget debate, it's a moral reckoning. We are not here to decorate failure. We are here to change the game. South Africans need safety. They need oversight and teeth. They need justice, not just policing. Let us fund not just a line item. Let us fund lives. I thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize the Honourable Matthys.
Chairperson, the Economic Freedom Fighters unsurprisingly rejects the budget votes for SAPS, for IPED, and the Civilian Secretariat for Police of the South African Police Service. And we do so for the following reasons. Quarter after quarter, SAPS publishes statistics of ridiculously high levels of crime. And we're not going to use our time to provide the stats, but a quick overview here is that on an average, there are 10,000 murders every 3 months. There are 12,000 reported, these are not the people who don't report, rape cases, and thousands more sexual assaults. And there's a dramatic increase in the cases of kidnapping, particularly of children who are trafficked to be used as sex slaves. All of this and much more that I haven't told you tells us that the 120 billion rand that has been appropriated to SAPS for its budget is not going to reduce crime. And even, Minister, if we add your President Ramaphosa's pala dollars, it's not going to help. What has been reported about the dysfunctionality of SAPS is actually just the tip of the iceberg. And if we continue down this path, South Africa is going to lead the world in committing mob justice purely because the police is the chief criminal syndicate. Now, let us explain something. One of the English dictionaries defines a criminal syndicate as a group of people or organizations that work together in an organized way to commit crime. The key characteristics of a criminal syndicate are, firstly, that the group must be a structured organization. Secondly, the group must be aimed at committing serious crimes for profit and for power. Thirdly, the group must have an inclination for using extreme violence, intimidation, and all this adds up to corruption. Chairperson, it's not difficult to conclude that SAPS is the biggest criminal syndicate in this country, and all other syndicates serve under it. They operate with the permission of SAPS or for the benefit of some of the key figures within SAPS. And we have a history of high-ranking SAPS officials caught with their hands in the cookie jar of corruption, from Salebi to Burnings to Kamutso to Dumsani Kamalo, and now we even have the whole National Commissioner who's on the radar. And those are just a few of those who are actually caught or have become collateral damage in this criminal syndicate. And remember what I said, this is just a tip of an iceberg. We know that assassinations, especially political ones, are covered up. Investigating officers get arrested or fired when they do their jobs rather than succumb to the instructions of the SAPS criminal syndicate. We know that here in the Western Cape, the anti-gang unit is in fact deeply embedded in gang violence and the politics of the Western Cape. We know that General Kene was killed after gang kingpins were tipped off by the very same members of the anti-gang unit. The interests of the gangs and the interests of the key figures within SAPS are mutually symbiotic. We know that the cases of the little girl, Kwekwe, for instance, that SAPS failed to perform even the very basic investigative work. And they allowed that racist organization called AfriForum to dictate the terms of defense for their racist organization. SAPS took directives from AfriForum and has now left the floodgates open for abuse of a little African child. We also know that SAPS took no action against this racist group called AfriForum, who has gone around the world committing treasonous acts against our country. And yes, Chair, this is one of the characteristics of a criminal syndicate. There is no justice for the majority. It is just a weapon at the hands of those who have power and who has money. Let's go to the FCS. There are high-ranking officials there that spend more time harassing complainants or just outright ignoring them. You see, Chair, criminal syndicates dictate who will access justice, how they will access it, and they even go as far as threatening and using the same justice system against parents who dare to seek justice for their children who are raped, who are trafficked, and who are abused. And then we can simply just take a look at the rapid increase of extortion and gang-related violence here in the Western Cape. And all these, and this list is actually endless, speaks to institutionalized criminality in SAPS. SAPS is the chief criminal syndicate in this country. And there is no urgent, and if there's no urgent reform, Minister, there's nothing that is going to happen. You can hire as many more young recruits. If the institution is not reformed, these young recruits will just be recruited into criminality that is deeply embedded in SAPS. But we want to pay tribute to the few honest members of SAPS. We know that some of you have been removed, you've been arrested as a result of this SAPS criminal syndicate. And on behalf of all South Africans, keep up the fight. Keep blowing the whistle until these syndicates fall. And we pay particular respect to the KZN Commissioner, whose example shines bright across the country. There's no amount of money, and even the
Thank
most
you, Honourable
standard
Matthys.
Minister is not going to reduce
Your
crime
time has now expired.
and operates as the chief criminal syndicate.
Thank you,
to
thank
reject
you.
all these budgets.
We now invite the Honorable Ghana.
Honorable members, fellow South Africans, let me say it plainly. South Africans are not safe. We are not safe. We live in fear. I said this last time. That's why some of you, Minister, have bodyguards. We live in fear in our homes, our streets, and even in the institutions of learning. Criminals are bold. And you know why? It's because they don't believe they'll ever be caught. And sadly, most of them are right. Even when they are caught, it takes years before a trial begins because of the time it takes to finalize the case. Minister, this cannot continue. Rise Mzansi stands to build a safe, prosperous, equal and united South Africa in one generation. But we cannot build anything if the people are afraid. This week, I was approached by the grieving family of Amgelang Mudisele, who was murdered in Garankuwa. Her alleged killer is a parolee and is known. But justice is stuck. You know why? Because DNA results are still outstanding. This delay adds fresh trauma to families already broken by loss. And this is not an isolated case. We have to fix our forensic labs. No more excuses. DNA delays means that killers roam free. The detection rate for murder is sitting at 10%. 10%. That means 90% of murderers get away with it. That number should shake this house. It certainly shakes the trust South Africans have in the police. Detectives are failing, not because they don't care, but the system is broken and we need to fix it. And while the public suffers, senior officials, especially those at crime intelligence, are fighting over slush funds and the Secret Service account. Let's not pretend otherwise. It's about the money, not securing the people of this country. And as Rise Mzansi, we want to say that we want to see every official, including the clerks, everyone that works at procurement and supply chain must undergo a lifestyle audit. Because that's where corruption breeds and that's where trust dies. And to the brave officers who protect us, we want to see them promoted. We want to see you backing them. And we must stop promoting underperformance. This budget must not protect positions. It must protect the people of South Africa. South Africans want one thing and one thing only. They want to feel safe. Let's stop talking. Let's stop fighting in the police. And let's focus on keeping the people of South Africa safe.
Honourable Skosana.
I rise here today to deliver a message that echoes throughout our nation, and our people have been betrayed by the very institution meant to safeguard them. SAPS and IPAD are failing in their mandate. They are failing to protect, to prevent, and worst of all, failing to be held accountable. South Africa battles as unprecedented crime crisis. The murder rate has escalated by 5% in the past year, with over 27,000 people murdered. A figure more commonly associated with a nation at war. It is a chilling indictment of a police service that has lost control and complicity government Remember, we changed from South African police to South African police service. We must service our people. Gender-based violence continues to devastate our society. Made us go scot-free one too many times. What is more terrifying than the crime itself is the lack of accountability. This budget, if passed in its current form, it's a death sentence for thousands more South Africans who will continue to be failed by the state. IPID is meant to serve as a check on police abuses and investigate police misconduct and criminality. We are essentially throwing a glass of water on a forest fire, pure strategic failure. The SAPS and iPad budgets reveal a disturbing trend. Massive allocation for administration, insignificant investment in tangible, effective crime fighting. SAPS 72 billion is set aside for administration, much of which goes to bloated management structure and system that seems more interested in sustaining itself than saving the public. Chairperson, the greatest threat is not only the criminal on the street, but also the criminal in uniform. Corruption within SAPS is rampant, yet the budget offers no credible plan to root it out. The so-called lifestyle audits mentioned in the budgets are nothing more than a PR exercise. Officers implicated in criminality continue to rise throughout the ranks, protected by political connection and institutionalized silence. Today, we stand in a country where criminals feel safer than law-abiding citizens, all attributed to failures of the so-called GNU. This budget does not represent progress. We reject this budget in totality. We are not saying police should not get salaries. We are not saying, everything must stand still. But Minister, I'm pleading with you. I know you've got a really serious abusive relationship with the DA. Now, I'm appealing to you to ask the Minister of Public Works to build police stations for our people. And indeed, if you can, divorce them. Thank you. Umkhonto weSizwe reject this budget in totality. Thank you.
We invite the minister to close and respond to the debate.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Honestly, let's be honest. Those amongst us here who say they don't support the budget, what they mean in reality is that in the areas and homes where they come from, they want us to withdraw services that are there, because those people won't be paid if you do so. But your reaction shows that what you are saying here is unrealistic. It's actually being excessive, unnecessary. There's the first point.
The honorable members,
I do want to further say, we want to take this opportunity and be honest and say there are many men and women in blue who are absolutely committed, which is a complete delight. I mean, to see them in action and to hear them talking and to hear them even saying to you, hey, please support us here, support us. Absolute delight. You almost melt when you come, when you hear them talk. So we want to take this opportunity and thank them because they exist. And in fact, they are in majority than the ones that all of us are complaining about. But I agree with members. If there is one person in SAPS who is corrupt, they destroy everything that SAPS is about. And therefore, we remain very committed to dealing with those elements that are stubborn and want to continue to be corrupt. And we won't tolerate that. It's clear. Now, the next point that I want to make, as I conclude, is the budget. I agree with honorable members. It's about making an effort to be effective and to be impactful on the ground and among the people on the ground. Hence the crafting of the latest interventions that we need to implement urgently, because people will only be convinced that they and be made to feel safe when they see action on the ground. They see police, they see all these culprits getting dealt with. And of course, we are very much prepared for that. And it may be tough, but we're going there. And I want to assure all of you and all South Africans, we, on our commitments, were not going to fail South Africa in any way. Thank you very much.
In Parliament this month, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The debate on Vote 28, 24, and 21, the budget allocations for the Department of Police, turned into a full-blown interrogation. MPs from across the spectrum didn't hold back. They were furious, frustrated, and fed up. And at the center of it all was Minister Senzo Mchunu, who had to sit and listen as South Africa's lawmakers grilled him over one painful truth: the nation is simply not safe. Speaker after speaker stood up to say what millions of South Africans feel every single day. Crime is out of control. Women and children are living in fear. Homes are broken into, businesses robbed, and innocent people gunned down in broad daylight. And what is the police department doing? According to MPs, far too little, far too slowly, and far too poorly. The debate revealed just how wide the gap has grown between government promises and the brutal reality on the ground. One megapixel pointed out that communities no longer trust the police. In many cases, the very officers sworn to protect citizens are either absent, or worse, working hand in hand with criminals. Corruption within the SAPS has become so normalized that people no longer bother reporting crimes. What's the point, they ask, if the system is already compromised? And then came the statistics. Shocking, painful numbers that painted a dark picture. Violent crime on the rise. Murders increasing. Rape cases flooding court rolls. And in the face of all this, the police department comes to Parliament asking for more money, more time, and more patience. But as MPs made very clear, time has run out. South Africans are bleeding. They want action. Now, Minister Mchunu tried to defend his department. He spoke of restructuring plans, new crime-fighting strategies, and improved cooperation between intelligence units. But his words were met with raised eyebrows and visible disbelief. Opposition MPs demanded accountability. They reminded him that budget after budget has been approved, but the results remain dismal. One even asked bluntly, "Where is the return on investment?" Another explosive moment came when MPs highlighted the shocking disappearance of hundreds of political assassination dockets. How can a police department lose critical case files involving targeted killings? The suspicion, they argued, is that there are people in high places benefiting from these failures, people who want investigations to disappear. And unless that rot is cleaned out, no amount of budget will fix the problem. Some MPs pushed for community-based policing revival. They argued that the top-down approach from Pretoria isn't working, and that local stations need more autonomy, better tools, and most importantly, ethical leadership. One megapixel asked, "How can you fight crime when your own police force is riddled with criminals?" The minister faced calls for lifestyle audits, stronger vetting, and consequences for police officers who collude with gangs. Others demanded to know why whistleblowers still lack protection. Why do those who speak up get silenced while those who steal, kill, and sabotage the system walk free? It wasn't just criticism, though. There were also suggestions. MPs proposed using budget allocations to modernize the force, investing in technology, forensic labs, and digital crime tracking. They called for a total overhaul of crime intelligence and for the hiring of professionals, not political appointees, to head up key departments. But by the end of the debate, one thing was clear: the Department of Police is on notice. This wasn't a normal budget meeting. It was a warning. If things don't change, if South Africans continue to live in fear, if corruption continues unchecked, and if the police continue to fail in their most basic duty, Parliament may not be as forgiving next time.